Vivek, what exactly went down there?
So I was on set. I can tell you exactly what happened. If you're Don Lemon, on one hand, you think that civil rights are good, yet Second Amendment is bad. So when I made an argument that said that actually Black Americans did not get their civil rights fully secured after the Civil War until they had their Second Amendment rights restored, that made his head explode. And he went into tailspin, lashing out at me, lashing out at the producers in his own ear, not letting his co-host Poppy get in there. And he went into a tailspin. So I think what happened was it's an example of when the left's own suppositions get into conflict with one another. They don't know how to deal with it. And then he started to tell me that I couldn't speak and engage in that debate because I wasn't a Black American. I'll applaud CNN, though. I think that they're saying that they want to be a platform where multiple different viewpoints are respected. Don Lemon wouldn't be a very good TV host to have on your network if that were the case.
Yeah, I'm shocked that he lasted as long as he did. But, at least finally something kind of brought it to a head, which happened to, it seems to be you. Do you think you're the reason he got fired?
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear. That was the final straw. New York Times reported it based on conversations there and based on what we've heard. It looks like that, too. But you know what? People don't do well on the debate stage of any kind with me. And so we're not going to play with kid gloves. And that's why we take the left on their own turf and like to win.
Did Chris Licht call you at all? I mean, Chris Licht is in charge of sort of remaking the network. He is a pretty sensible guy, comes from a straight news background. He's trying to play things more down the middle. Easier said than done, I think, at a network like that. Did he call you? Did he apologize? Did anybody apologize?
Yeah, so I had actually met with Chris a little bit ago, not that long ago, maybe a number of weeks, but before that exchange, I would say someone from the network did reach out to someone on my team to apologize. But what I said is I don't need any apologies, right? We don't need apologies. We got to have thick skin. If you're in my seat, you better have a thick skin. But I think it's really good for us to surface these debates where, forget Don Lemon, even Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley of the Squad, she'll say that we don't want any more Black faces that don't want to be a Black voice or brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. That's a toxic worldview. But if that's really what people are going to think beneath the surface, let's bubble that to the surface and talk about it in the open. And that's why I thought it was such a productive exchange, actually, is it was uncomfortable. It was very awkward, no doubt. But I'm happy to bear that cross. And this is part of why I think we in our movement need to go to the other side's turf more often, because I think we have the winning arguments. And that's what I've been doing from college campuses to left-wing media. I think it's actually useful.
Listen, I love what you're doing. I loved your book, Woke Inc. And I spoke to you some time ago when the book first came out. And I told the viewers, I was like blown away by this guy. I was excited you were coming on today because I said, he is so impressive. Everything he said, I was just sort of like, it's very rare that this happens. I was sort of just like, wow, just trying to take it all in, digest what you said. It was really, really important stuff. You are 34? Did I get that right?
I'm 37 now.
Oh, okay.
34 when I wrote Woke
So
Inc,
you're 37 years old. You'd be the youngest president ever. I've also been making the case we need some new blood. We need youthful people. We need people with new ideas. What's it like as a 37-year-old with no political experience? By the way, I should tell the viewer, tremendous business experience, entrepreneur. You started a couple of companies, sold them for a heck of a lot of money. So self-made guy. What's it like now going into the political arena?
So look, I've built my entire career taking on bureaucracies in big pharma. I took on the woke industrial complex, both with Woke Inc. and another business that I started called Strive, that competes directly with these ESG promoting asset managers like BlackRock. I know what bureaucracy looks like. I'm taking on the bureaucracy and the bureaucratic administrative state of the federal government. And so, look, I am the first millennial candidate ever to run for U.S. president as a Republican. But I think we can actually do a better job in the conservative movement of bringing young, even Gen Z voters along with us. I actually travel college campuses across this country. And Trish, what I see is that people are, especially young people, they're hungry for a cause. They're hungry for purpose. At a time when faith and patriotism and family have disappeared, the left does a good job of filling that vacuum with race, gender, sexuality, climate. Say what you will, they're filling that void of purpose. And what I see an opportunity to do in the conservative movement is to actually fill that void with the vision of what it means to be American. That's what I'm bringing to the table. I'm having a lot of fun so far, to be honest with you. And I think that I don't think of myself as a politician, but I do want to lead a national revival like Ronald Reagan did it in 1980. I think we can do it this time around.
Listen, you're young, so you got a lot of time ahead of you. This is your first entry into politics. Donald Trump's way out in front. What's your thought on Donald Trump?
So look, I'm about in the polls and in the race where Donald Trump was in June of 2015 when he came down the escalator. That's about exactly where we are right now. I'm the outsider in this race now, and I think anything before that first debate is basically irrelevant. I think it's shameful that the Democratic Party has said that they won't host debates because they don't want their puppet, Joe Biden, to be challenged. I think that the Republican Party can embrace the mantle of being the party of free speech and open debate. And I don't think my opponents are going to relish being on that debate stage with me. But I think that's going to be good for our party because we focus too much on the who.
Donald Trump says he's not going to debate, though.
Why. Well, I think.
Yeah, he said he's not going to debate, so you're going to go up against the others.
Well, you know what? I'm not sure we're going to let Donald Trump get away with that. I say this as a friend, right? He's the guy who actually came in 2015 and shook it up on the debate stage. So I think if he's afraid of being on the debate stage with me, and I don't think he's afraid of anybody else. I think that, look, let's air it. It's going to be good for our country if we actually have an open debate around those ideas. So I predict, you know what? I think he'll man up and he'll be on that debate stage. And I think it's going to be me and him.
Would you ever consider a VP spot with him on the ticket?
Look, I would have an impact in other ways. Right? I'm a business guy in the private sector. I haven't reported to anybody for a long time. And it's not an ego thing. It's just how can we have our greatest possible impact? And I will be helpful to whoever is the next president with the right values in whatever way I can. And if I'm elected, I'm going to expect the same thing from Donald Trump. I think he can be a great source of advice, even mentorship on how to take on the administrative state. I think he went about as far as he could. I'm taking that agenda to the next level, but I will take his help at every step of the way. And I expect to do the same in return. If somebody else is the actual successful elected president, if that's Trump, I'll help him in due course as well.
Hey, Vivek, Tucker Carlson's out. I know you went on his show a few times, and everybody's just sort of reeling from that. Everybody's kind of in shock, saying maybe Fox News is the new Bud Light. What's your reaction to Tucker's ousting? Good, bad for conservatives?
Tucker's become a great friend.
Indifferent?
Tucker's become a great friend in the last few years. And one of the things I respect about him is he's an independent thinker. Mm-hmm. He doesn't shill for anybody, not for any political party, not for the GOP, least of it. Mm-hmm. I think we need more independent voices like that. So I think that that leaves big shoes to fill in the conservative movement. I think he may fill his own shoes. I'm sure he'll continue to have an impact in some positive way. In many ways, what I'm trying to do to the field of Republican politics and presidential politics, I think it's a big part of what Tucker has done in the vacuum of conservative thought leadership. And I think it's going to take everybody doing our part to revive the country. But I think one of the things I admire most about Tucker is that he's actually an independent thinker rather than just reciting platitudes. And I think it's part of why he and I get along.
Well, listen, I've always said we need a whole lot more of that. America is not really left or right. America's common sense, right? And so that's where you need that middle lane where you're taking the best of everything and pulling it together. Just one other aside, because one of the things we're doing on the show today, just for fun, is we're sort of picking, okay, who could fill Tucker's spot? And I brought up you. Would you ever consider that?
That's come up a few folks have brought that up. So listen, running a presidential race, that's something that you actually take very seriously as a family before you make that commitment. And I think that if you asked me a year ago, there was no way I was thinking that I was going to run for president. My wife and I made a serious decision as a family, thinking about how we're going to have the maximal impact on the country. That's not a decision that we made lightly. We put an 8-figure sum of our own family's earnings and wealth into this campaign. And I think we're aiming to go the distance and take this all the way to the White House. For me, I think that's the way I'm going to have maximal impact like Reagan did in 1980. But I think that Tucker leaves big shoes to fill, and hopefully somebody worthy can actually step into them, because I think we have a thought leadership vacuum even in media as well. And so, I think that there's going to be room for everybody to have impact in their way, and this is the way I've chosen.
Listen, it's so good to see you, Vivek. I didn't even get to the ESG stuff, but I encourage people to go and read your book, Woke Inc., because gosh, you were spot on. I've had that conversation with you. You were ahead of the curve. It's nuts what's going on. And I think that because of all that, it's actually created a whole host of other problems. So thank you for your clarity. Keep working hard. We love to see young people excited about politics. Vivek Ramaswamy, very good to see you, sir.
Trish, last thing on Woke Inc., since you mentioned the sequel is literally out this week. It is Capitalist Punishment, and it's all about the ESG movement. So that actually came out this week. And so if you like that, hopefully you check out that book. Thank you.